Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're really happy to see everyone join our profile makeover workshop. My name is Garner Morantes. I'm here from the community and education team at Elance Odesk. I have several of my colleagues dialing in as well, so you might hear a couple of people jump in from time to time. But let's go ahead and kick things off with the workshop here. And again, just a welcome to everyone who's joining us today. We will be taking questions at the end of this presentation. I know some of you might be getting excited and throwing them in here to the chat box now, and that's fine. Just keep in mind we'll probably not be responding to most of those until the end of the presentation here. So let's start off with why we're all here. You're obviously here for a reason. We saw many people registering and signing up for this session. You know that this is building a great profile is a key part of the work that you do on Odesk. It's a key part of how you get even more work. And we're here to reinforce that, but also to give you some insight into specific areas of your own profile that we're looking at and that clients are looking at. You all know a great profile attracts great clients. You might not know to what extent, but you know it makes a difference. And you know you can improve upon that to attract even more. What we want to also show you a little bit of is that the top freelancers like yourself who have that great work history, but who also take the step of building a great profile, we showcase them, we highlight them. We're proud to have you on our site, and we're going to show you some examples of where we actually highlight that. We also just want to point out that there's really a shift taking place here. We're implementing and you see it in quotes here, but a new standard. There's really an expectation that clients have nowadays and that Odesk has in terms of how a profile should look. And we want to give you insight into what those standards are and really the easy steps that you can take to accomplish those things. Here's an overview of what the agenda will look like. We're going to just, again, really highlight for you a little bit of some of the benefits that you're going to achieve by taking some time to update your profile. We're going to dive into each of the sections of your profile, the sections that we're really focused on. And by the way, the sections that we saw a lot of good feedback coming through from the pre-survey, the pre-workshop survey that many of you filled out, so thank you for doing that. We'll talk a little bit about next steps in terms of getting a review of your own profile after some updates are made from this. And then stop for a second on some key takeaways and then get into your questions. Highlighted freelancers. So why should you even do this? Why should you take the step of attending this workshop, of making updates to your profile, and what difference is it really going to make? Well, there's some prime placements on Odesk, and we call them prime placement. I like to call them prime real estate. But there's areas of the site, and we'll show you a couple of those here in a second, where we're showcasing some of our best freelancers, but also some of our best freelancers who have taken the step to update their profile and have really great profiles. So that's a huge benefit as to why you're here. With that increase in visibility, because you are getting highlighted in many ways, this is going to enable clients to find you even faster, and means more job invitations, means more jobs at the end of the day, and we see freelancers growing their business faster as a result. Freelancers who get highlighted in a way are earning more business, and they're earning it in a faster way. So I want to show you some examples of what we're talking about here. This is just one page where you see freelancers highlighted, and you'll see across categories, across geographies, but the one common theme that we have with these folks is that they have really great profiles. Now, something as easy to get to as odesk.com. So if you're just visiting odesk.com today, think of yourself as a client who's looking to potentially hire. This is the first thing that they're going to see. And as we scroll down the page, what you'll notice is that we call out specific job categories, and you might see your own category here. We're going to continue to evolve this page. But if we click into one of these categories, what you're going to find is that we're highlighting freelancers. We're showcasing some great freelancers here. Here's three of the folks that we're highlighting in this category. I believe this is the customer service area. Now, this looks really great, right? A really clean, simplified look. But the interesting thing is if we click into Francesca's profile, it looks just like yours. with a few of the specific highlights that we're going to cover in this presentation. Francesca she's already taken the step to take some of the guidance that we've offered, some of the tips and the best practices in this presentation, and we're going to dive into each of those sections specifically. But what I wanted to point out was, at the end of the day, it comes back to the same profile that you have access to, the profile that you can update. So let's get into some of these specific sections and really talk about some of the things that you might not notice from your profile. And you know, as we were looking at your responses to our survey, some of these things stood out for us, and we want to be honest and frank with you about you know, why they stood out and where we see as areas for improvement. Let's stop and talk about the profile picture here for a second. And you see the question that we have here, is that the professional you in your profile picture? And we say this because what we see in many cases from freelancers, yes, the profile photo is an image of themselves, but it doesn't really reflect the professional image, the professional aspect of who you are, and that clients are looking to hire. Clients are coming here looking to hire professionals. And that's why if you saw in those initial versions of the photo, this is the same two people that you see here today, but the version that we're looking at now is a much cleaner, much more professional, much simpler and direct picture and reflection of who this person is as a professional. So some of the guidelines we give you, and we encourage you to go to your photo and take a look at these things. Look at your facial expression. Is it friendly and welcoming? We're not talking about, you know, overdoing it and having bells and whistles and balloons behind you, but you obviously want to let your personality shine through and give clients some comfort in who you are and that you are, you know, a good person here ready to do some work for them. Check out the background that you have in your picture. Clean and simple works best. Light colored backgrounds. We're looking at some of your submissions into the survey that we had done, and we saw, you know, in some cases a dark photo with a dark background. Again, the image itself was fine. It was still a good image, a good picture of the person, but the dark background kind of you know, made it a little bit hard to really distinguish the person and see who they were. Be careful about black and white photos. Yes, they look elegant, and we see some, particularly in some of the design categories, it certainly looks cool. But again, it doesn't really reflect that level of professionalism. It doesn't make your profile photo in many ways stand out. These are really great examples for that reason. Clear background, color, and a good cropping and visual of who this person is. Again, check the resolution on that. Make sure it's a clear photo, and that'll help with the image. So let's talk about the title section. Again, this is an area that we like to spend a lot of time on because there's really some clear guidelines that we can give you as you're thinking about your title. What we see come up in many cases is the title is either a laundry list of the type of skills that a freelancer has, or it doesn't really truly reflect what type of work this freelancer is looking to do. Think of your title as a way for you to engage prospective clients. It should very quickly and concisely highlight what you do, what you're here to work on. Now, it is important to keep in mind, if you work across categories, for example, I see in the chat here that some of you are you know, voiceover talent, but you also do video production. It's fine to include two different areas of work. Just make sure they're concise. And you see that in this first example here. This gentleman is a WebEx and a UI designer, but he's combined those two areas of work into one short, concise title. So focus on conciseness, focus on the areas that you excel at, the type of work that you do. Let's move on into your skills. A lot of skills are great to have. I think it's better to be a well-rounded individual than to be someone who just knows how to do one thing. But as it relates to your profile, keep in mind the perspective of a client, and are they really looking for a jack of all trades, someone who knows how to do 9, 10, potentially more different things? Or are they coming here to Odesk with a specific need in mind? In most cases, it's the latter. They're coming to the platform looking for a specific type of skill set. And that's why we encourage you to, again, be focused in this area. Are you really a jack of all trades, or are there 3 to 5 things that you really do well? And you'll notice as you go to your skills section, you begin typing a skill, we're going to pre-populate some suggestions there for you. I encourage you to take them if they fit with what you actually do. Only pick the skills that you're most proficient in. So don't include everything that you know how to do. Pick the ones that you do really, really well. Also, think about picking skills that can be validated through your past work experience. So yes, you just completed some Microsoft certification, but you haven't done any work in that area. So does it really make sense to highlight that as one of your skills? Well, maybe not yet. Maybe you pick the Adobe Photoshop skill because you have 3 or 4 work examples that directly relate to that. Or you've completed some jobs that can indicate and validate that skill that you just selected. We say stick to 1 to 5 skills, but by no means is this a rule. That's why we give you the option of adding more. So if it makes sense for your area of work, and I see this particularly in the case of web development where clients want to know that you know more than 2 or 3 programming languages, you can add those. So take a look at other freelancers in your category of work. Think about what your clients are looking for. But the guidance here is really to focus on the skills that you excel at. So whether it's 1 to 5, 6 to 7, or even more, just focus on those. Let's talk about your overview section for a moment. And the question up here is your overview really compelling enough? And what we're talking about here is this is your first entry in front of a client. When a client lands on your profile, this is one of the first things that they're going to see because it's right there under your profile photo. It has one of the initial placements. But not only does it show up there, it also shows up as the first few lines will show up in search results. So as clients are looking for freelancers and they're browsing around, the first few lines of your overview section are going to show up. And that's why we recommend thinking about this as a way to have that hook to engage clients. And that's why we actually outlined this first bullet here of, hey, don't be afraid to show some personality, but don't overdo it. Don't have a hard sell. Try and avoid being too gimmicky or any unorthodox language. It might not translate well online, right? The client is not there to hear you explain yourself or to hear you verbalize your overview section. It's going to be read by someone. So that's why we give that guidance. Be professional. Arrange your points in a logical sequence. And what we mean by that is have a couple of different sections if it makes sense to really say, okay, here's my background. Next section is here's my expertise in this area. Third section saying here's my expertise in this area. And that's why we talk about organizing into paragraphs around, again, those core skills. That's a theme that you're going to see us talk about here quite a bit. Use full sentences, no spelling errors, and avoid too much jargon or really language that is specific to a company that you work for, that whether it's localized type of language. Keep in mind this is a global audience, so you want to be relevant and appropriate for all of them as well. The education, certifications, and employment history section. This is important. We know it's not the most exciting area of your profile, but it's important because, again, keep in mind, clients don't know you. They're looking to validate what you do. They're looking to validate not only the skills that you're talking about, but also just your overall level of professionalism and your background. And that's why we offer these areas for you to populate: education area, specialized certifications, and your past work history. Take advantage of these sections. We've heard questions from time to time, well, I got my degree in biology, but now I'm doing web and programming work. Should I still include this? Yeah, go ahead and include it, because what it's telling clients is that you have education, there's professionalism behind that, there's training that you've done, there's discipline that you've shown, that you've proven to have. Granted, it's not in the direct line of work that you have, but it is still worth including here. On that past work history section, as you're thinking about jobs that you've had in the past, whether they're online or offline, don't just list the company you work for. Actually give a little bit more context. What did you do for those businesses? And don't overdo it. We don't want you to write pages and pages about that work, but give a concise description of the tasks that you were in charge of, the responsibilities that you had, the people that you managed. things of that sort. In your portfolio area, this is really a big deal for most of you. And one caveat here is for the portfolio area might not be appropriate for all jobs or all areas of work. We get that. We understand that. And I'm sure we'll get some questions from people who say, well, you know, I'm in a customer support representative. What should I add in my portfolio area, or things of that nature. Our advice there is go and look what other professionals in your category are doing, particularly those who are top rated, those who are earning a lot of money. They're doing something right. What kind of items do they have in their portfolio area? But for the majority of you, this is really a section to take advantage of. Highlight examples of your best past work, particular work that you can actually perhaps link to projects that you've completed. And we do allow that capability for some categories here on Odesk. But it can also be work that you've done offline or for other companies or for other businesses. So long as you have approval to use that, it's okay to use. This second one it's an obvious one, but it's something that we see missed quite a bit, which is make sure that those links are working. We see a lot of cases where either a link has expired or where it's pointing to that web page is broken. Just make sure the examples that you're including, if they are linking somewhere, are functional and working. Include a description of the work that you did for the project. Again, what we see too often is, hey, I'm going to throw an image up there, I'm going to show you the work that I did, but I don't give any kind of additional background or context behind it. So add those descriptions there, that can also make a big difference. And then come back. Make sure that you're taking an opportunity, block out some time for yourself every month or so, if not sooner, to come back to your portfolio, to update the work that's included there, because we know you're continuing to win jobs, you're continuing to do work. You want to be sure that you're highlighting that best work as it comes. The video section. And this is actually, surprisingly, looking at the results from our pre-workshop survey, we saw a majority of people did not have an introduction video on their profile. It's not a requirement. It is an option for you, but we see that it makes a difference. Use this as an opportunity to introduce yourself and to briefly speak to your career highlights. We're talking about a minute. We have 2 minutes here. That's probably a little bit long, but we're talking about a minute or less. And really the goal behind this is to introduce yourselves to clients, break down that wall of anonymity that many clients are kind of challenged with as they're looking to do something like hiring a professional online. Show them you're a real person there. And then also you're prompting your clients to take some action after watching. What do you want them to do after they watch your video? Here's who I am. Here's what type of work that I do. Invite me to your job post today. Contact me today so I can begin doing some great work for you. Again, have that call to action for them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's next and how you're going to get your profile reviewed. So what happens after this? A great best practice, and by the way, we just recommend doing this in general, is to take a look at what other freelancers are doing in your category. And a great place to start is just to sign out of Odesk and go to odesk.com like we saw at the beginning of the presentation. Take a look at what some of those highlighted freelancers are looking like. What do their profiles look like? And obviously in your category of work, so you can get a little bit of guidance from that. Along with that information, and what we're delivering here in this workshop, some of the tips and the guidance that we've shared, make those updates. So make those updates to your profile. And then as a next step, what we'll be doing is sending you instructions so that you can submit your updated profile to us for a round of review. Now, we are committed to providing you with one round of review, but what we want to offer in that is specific guidance based on the updates that you've made, based on the category of work that you're in, to really help you maximize your profile and hopefully get highlighted. That's what we want. The more profiles that we can highlight, like on our landing page, on our visitor page for clients, the better that is for you because you're getting that visibility. The better that is for us because we're just able to showcase the great freelance talent that's on the platform, and it's an all-around good thing. For those of you who do all of that, you'll probably see fewer actionable items, but that's what we want. We want you to be able to take this guidance and work with it. In that email as well, we'll also be asking for your feedback on this workshop itself, so we'd love to get some responses to that if you don't mind. Okay, a few things to highlight, and you saw these as themes throughout the presentation. First is really to stay consistent with the strongest skills that you have. And this includes in sections like the title, the overview area, and obviously in the skills area that you're filling out. Consistency is important, focus is important, and really highlighting those areas that you are strongest in is going to be a good practice. Look to build trust and confidence with clients by completing all sections. And this really speaks to, as we were talking about, people not maximizing the portfolio area, for example, or not adding, only one skill versus 3 to 5 or even more if it makes sense. Not including the introductory video. Taking advantage of what you can do there and really the best professional looking photo of yourself. So go back and take a look at those items, round out your profile, and really look to build that trust and confidence with potential clients. Stay concise and straightforward. This almost jumps back to the first bullet that we have here, but what we're talking about is really maintaining that focus, being direct with clients, not overly so. We're not saying be abrupt. We're not saying have bullet points throughout your overview section or in your title or anything like that, but you want to maintain that conciseness, be straightforward, because just like you, clients have a limited amount of time. You want to maximize that time that you have in front of them. And then keep it updated regularly. This is, we can't reinforce this one enough. I think this is not a matter of making these updates and then forgetting about it. We encourage you to come back, do a periodic review of your profile, make sure you're still, hey, did I update the portfolio with the latest examples of work that I've done? Should I swap out my video because, hey, I've just completed a $100,000 project that I really want to highlight? Is my photo a little bit out of date now? Is it taken back in the 80s or something like that? Anything that's going to require doing that refresh, we encourage you to take a look at that and do it. And thanks again. We know some people will stick around for the Q&A. We'll do our best to respond to that. For those of you who don't, or you're listening to a recorded version of this, we do appreciate you taking the time to join us, to listen to the recording, to participate in our workshop. And let us know what you think. We will be following up with a survey to get your thoughts on that. And for those of you who did attend, we will be providing you with direct instructions for getting your profile reviewed. So thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of Odesk and for taking these steps to get your profiles made over. Thank you, everyone.